Okay, chicos. Let's talk about showing action through art versus narration. When we're making a comic, we got to make these kind of decisions all the time. Is it something that I want to just show through the illustrations on the page? Or is there something that I can't quite show that I need to add in an extra little narrative spot for? So in Billy y las Botas, we actually have a built-in narrator, and that is Perro. When Perro is like live in the scene, he's speaking through speech bubbles. But when he's not actually live in the scene, we see him speaking in these narrative boxes. So even if you don't have a character who's narrating your story, you might still have times where you need to add in a narrative box. One of the times that you might need to add that narrative box is if there's a piece of this character's backstory that you just could not possibly express unless you showed us all of their history. Why is he sad? Because he doesn't go anywhere. Porque está triste, porque no va a ninguna parte. Which I kind of feel that right now. It's like, he never gets used. How sad. Pobre Bill. In this scene, Perro is narrating again. But then we get to like a really sharp scene change, almost like a commercial break in a TV show, where if we didn't have a narrative box in there, it would feel really harsh and almost like, how did we get here? So one thing that you can do with narrative boxes is explain how or why you just made this really big jump or change in scene or in time. Here, Perro was narrating, and then bam, Billy y las Botas van a un restaurante. They went to the restaurant. Bam. So we know you might use narrative boxes if you have an actual narrator character in your story, if you need to show some of the character's backstory that would take too long to explain, if you want to skip over some boring action and make a really abrupt scene change. And one other time that you might want to use a narrative box is if there's an incredibly specific emotion that you want to try to convey that just the art itself might not quite get across. Here we can see Billy. We can see that he's sad. Pobre Billy. But the author doesn't just want you to know Billy is sad. They want you to know es el fin de la aventura y Billy va a su prisión. He's not just sad, like he feels trapped. He feels like he's in a prison. I feel like I'm in a prison. That seems a little dramatic. But for the author to say, and he returned to his prison, gives us the drama without making Billy seem like a big whiner. So there are definitely times when it's totally appropriate to use these narrative boxes, but we do have to be a little bit careful. First, ask yourself, is this something that I could show with just my illustration instead of saying, and Tomas walked into the restaurant. Yeah, well, we know he's clearly walking into the restaurant. Then I'd ask myself, is there something that the characters could say, either a thought or a conversation that would be natural that would get rid of the need for a narrative box? The last thing I would maybe ask is there like a sign or a label that would clarify this for me? Like I could just say restaurant, or I could say bookstore, whatever. And if the answer to all those questions is no, I can't do this with just my art or just dialogue or by just labeling something or putting in a little sign. Man, my bun is all kinds of wiggly. If the answer to all those questions is no, then by all means, go ahead and throw in your narrative box. Vary the shape of it, change the color of it, put it in an interesting location. Did I already say location? I feel like I already said location. Well, you get the point. Okay, super excited to see these. The end.